Welcome back to Likeable Leaders. I am your host, Dave Kerpen. I am so grateful to you for tuning in on LinkedIn Live. We're also streaming today on Facebook Live and YouTube, thanks to my good friends at Restream. Every week on LinkedIn, on Likeable Leaders, we talk to a likable leader about leadership, entrepreneurship, the challenges facing the business world today. We also take your questions. So if you have a question for me or our guest, who I will introduce in just a moment, please post it in the comments. Every single time you post a comment or a question, let me know where you're from, for instance, you are eligible to win a copy of one of my books. So this is Likeable Social Media. You can win that. You can win The Art of People. You can win Likeable Business. Your choice of book, but the only way to win is to post a question or a comment for me or my guest. I look forward to seeing those questions and comments. In the meantime, without further ado, I want to introduce you to my guest, Jim Holthouser. It is wonderful to have Jim. He has over 30 years of experience in brand development, concept innovation, franchise management, and digital marketing. Was the EVP of Global Brands, Marketing, and Loyalty at Hilton Worldwide. And now he is the CEO of Focus Brands, a set of restaurant concepts based in Atlanta, although I don't think he's in Atlanta today. We'll hear more in just a moment. I have some personal experience with some of Focus Brands. We work with Auntie Anne's, wonderful, wonderful pretzels, delicious pretzels. And of course, Cinnabon is one of my favorite treats to eat in the world. I mean, it's like the best, richest, tastiest. Whew, I get excited. I get excited just saying the words out loud. So without further ado, Jim Holthouser, welcome to the show. Thanks so much for joining us.
Oh, thanks, Dave. It's a pleasure.
And Jim, you are based in Atlanta, but you're in Memphis today.
Yes. So we basically got while the world is hibernating. I guess I'm doing a little bit of the same. Our office is in Atlanta. I still live in Memphis. I'm in the middle of relocating to Atlanta. So that was quite a bit of fun trying to find a house and sell your own house during a pandemic. But it's okay. We got through it.
Congratulations on getting through it, and hopefully it's not too hot there. You got the fans going on behind you in Memphis today. Yeah. So my first question, of course, has to be about COVID-19 and the pandemic, on the effects on your business and the business world in general. So tell me a little bit. I mean, it has to be, I would think, a major challenge to be in the restaurant business right now. Tell me a little bit about how you see the impact of the pandemic on Focus Brands, how you guys are thinking about things, and of course, how you guys are thinking about the reopening process.
Right. Well, I mean, there's definitely been a pronounced impact on this business. I guess the optimistic side of me also likes to believe, though, that there have been other businesses a lot much harder hits. I came from the hotel business, as you mentioned. That business is basically been devastated, and this is the airline industry and others have. So, yes, there's a hotel. I mean, the restaurants have definitely been impacted, but not as severely as some. I would like to say that it has also been a period of intense innovation, as we've had to pivot and respond to a very, very rapidly changing world, right? So over a period of about 3 weeks, the whole world, our whole world turned upside down, right? So, and I was brand new in this role at Focus. So I think I've been in the office 1 week with a fully staffed team in the office.
Wow.
Week 2, we had to send everybody home, right? Week 3, well, unfortunately, we had to announce furloughs and layoffs as just about every other company on the planet did. And then we've been managing things remotely ever since. So it's been about 2 months that we've been working like this.
I read somewhere that you did a really interesting, innovative thing regarding turning some of your non-drive-throughs into drive-throughs. Can you talk to me a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So what's been really interesting is that the business dynamics have completely changed in restaurants, right? So typically in a quick service restaurant, about 75% of your revenue is going to come from lunch, and about 25% will come from dinner. Well, when everybody's home, it's just completely reversed. So now all of a sudden, 75% of your revenue is now coming from dinner, 25% from lunch, right? So the our company, our brands, the industry overall has had to pivot and change very, very rapidly. So today, instead of buying one burrito, you can now buy taco kits. You're now buying family size, meals and entire meals now. That was a change that happened on our menus in literally in about 10 days. So the industry had to pivot very quickly. The restaurants that are probably doing the best are those with drive-throughs, which makes sense, right? You're not really going to a store. There's minimal touching and just a very, very brief encounter with another person. So those types of restaurants have done really well. So what we've seen is that restaurants without drive-throughs, they're basically creating makeshift drive-throughs. So if you're in the middle of a strip center, say, everything around you is closed. So with a tent and some orange cones and a runner, you can basically create a kind of a makeshift drive-through in kind of an empty parking lot. So that's been very, very common across our brands, and I know the industry. But again, you're having to do business in ways that customers want to do business with you right now, right? So yeah, so we've seen all kinds of changes like that over the last, and just as I said, in just a very, very short period of time.
I love that pivot. I mean, I'm all about turning lemons into lemonade and figuring things out. And it sounds like that's one way that you take a challenge and start to solve it, is to create drive-throughs. I got to see if there's a drive-throughs there's a Moe's by me that I really like. I got to see if there's if they all turn that into a drive-through and pick up some food there. We have a winner, our first winner of a book. Congratulations, Amy Sir Trevino. Amy Sir Trevino of NYC, New Yorker in the house. I always like to see a fellow New Yorker win a prize. So congratulations, you win a copy of one of my books. And if you haven't won yet, keep posting and we'll take questions for Jim in just a little while. So if you have a question for Jim about the restaurant business or the hotel business or anything at all, I'll post those questions and we will get to those in a moment. We're also going to talk leadership in just a moment. But before I do that, I wanted to give a shout out to the third person on our call today. We've got Ariel from Image Thing. And actually, Ariel, if you want to pull up a little bit about what you're doing, Ariel is actually live sketching our conversation. So everything that we talk about gets turned into a sketch, as you can see. So we're already talking about the business and innovation and makeshift drive-throughs in order to pivot. I mean, how cool is this, Jim, that we've got a nice little live sketch of our conversation? I mean, wouldn't that be cool to have all the time? It's like keeping our thoughts straight. I love it.
That is awesome. That is so cool.
So thank you very much to Ariel for that. So right, we're going to talk, leadership principles in just a moment. But before we do that, one more question about just everyone wants to know this, and I know it's impossible to know, but to the best of your ability, Jim, when the heck do we get back to some semblance of normalcy? Are you seeing? I know that in some areas, I'm in New York, of course, where we're pretty darn closed down right now, but I know some areas of the country are opening today or have opened today. If you had a crystal ball, where would you say we start to get back to some semblance of normalcy, and what does that new normal look like? How is that new normal different in the business world than maybe what we've seen in the past?
Yeah, well, let me share a couple thoughts. First of all, at the end of the day, nobody truly knows, and I think the lesson for business leaders is that even if we emerge out of this thing for a while in the summer, there's likelihood that there could be a repeat in the fall, right? So again, I mean, we've all got to remain as flexible and agile as we can, and to be able to respond and pivot on a dime. I mean, that to me is one of the headlines that's come out of this for business leaders. I will say, at least for the time being, there is light at the end of the tunnel. As I look at what our sales were, for example, just 3 or 4 weeks ago, we were kind of at the height of all this. The decline is about half of what it was just 2 or 3 weeks. So business is definitely coming back. But I'm pretty confident in saying it will probably never be back exactly the way it was before. And by that I mean customers are it's going to take a long time before they're more comfortable walking into a restaurant. I think number one, you're having shrunken capacity with everyone having to maintain 6 feet, and the table 6 feet apart, right? So there's going to be a lot less capacity. But that's one thing consumers have learned in all this, Dave. It's that they can interact with restaurants, quick service restaurants, in lots and lots of different ways. You can go through a third party for delivery. You can order through your apps. You can call ahead and pay for it and pick it up curbside. So this thing is generated all kinds of new channels, right? Again, I mean, people have to eat, and they will continue using restaurants. And then we're going to do everything we can to make sure that we get back to 100% of where we were. It may take a little bit more coaxing and cajoling of the consumer to do that. As we've talked about in Focus, it's almost like we've got to re-earn the consumer's trust again. Not that the industry did anything wrong to in the first place, but you've really got to show the consumer that you can protect them. The place is just super clean. And hotels and restaurants are going to have to kind of re-earn that trust with consumers again. So, even when we quote unquote return to normal, say there's a vaccine found, might be 12 to 18 months. I don't think our industries will look exactly the way they did, 2 months ago. The dynamics will be different.
Makes sense. If you're just joining me live on LinkedIn or Facebook or YouTube, I am with Jim Holthouser, the CEO of Focus Brands. I'm so grateful that Jim stopped by. I will say, at the risk of sharing a competitive restaurant, I will share. You'll be the first in the world to hear that. In the spirit of there always being a silver lining, and to your point, Jim, new methods of working with restaurants and enjoying restaurants. I have date night every Monday with my wife, and thanks to some new opportunities, I am going to be eating from one of the hardest tables to book on the planet tonight. I don't know if you're familiar with Rayo's in New York City. It's a very small restaurant that you literally need to own a table in order to dine there. And we'll be doing some Rayo's pickup. We got pickup going on. We're gonna take it out, find a nice place in the grass to eat our food and have their world famous meatballs. So look, there's always a silver lining to every challenge, right?
That's right.
And my second winner, and congratulations, you win a book, Naomi Carroll from Kentucky. Naomi Carroll from Kentucky, congratulations. And if you haven't won yet, post a question for Jim or a comment, or just tell us where you're from and you are eligible to win. Okay, so what I'm gonna do now is we've got the Likeable Business and Likeable Leadership Pyramid. I'm gonna ask you to share that, Ariel, so that I can walk through that for Jim and for our audience. And every week, loyal fans will know that we take a look at this pyramid, Jim, and I ask my guests to talk about the qualities of likable leadership that resonate the most with them. So here it is. And I'm going to ask, before I ask Jim, I'm going to ask our audience as well that's watching at home, let us know which of these principles you think is most important for you as a leader. We've got listening, storytelling, passion, teamwork, surprise and delight, responsiveness, simplicity, authenticity, transparency, adaptability, and gratefulness. Which resonates the most with you as a leader that's watching at home? And I'll give away a prize or two, a book or two to some people that post. And now, Jim, I ask you the same question. Which resonate the most with you as a leader?
Well, obviously they're all very important. We've talked about a little bit about adaptability just a couple of minutes ago. So I'm gonna go with authentic and transparent. And Again, I think that especially in light of a crisis like this, the very, very first thing you've got to do is communicate with people. They're looking to leaders for clarity. They're looking for reassurance. Um, so I think that one of the lessons that, for me, is that it's to communicate often, and not to sugarcoat. Be honest with people, and be as transparent and as authentic as you can. I mean, I think you're in a lot of points when you treat people as adults. You don't try to sugarcoat things. So that's exactly how I've tried to manage all of my constituents, whether they're franchisees or team members or the owner of this company. It's just honesty and transparency.
I love that. In my experience, authenticity and transparency really build trust, and trust, of course, is really important to building the business. Is there any limit there? Where how do you find the limit between sharing and too much in terms of vulnerability?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, let me preface what I said by simply by saying you tell people what you can. I mean, in some cases, for legal reasons, financial reasons, or whatever, sometimes you just can't share everything, right? But I would say anything that can be shared should be shared.
Cool. Love that. I love that. And too few leaders embrace that, I think. So it's really wonderful. To me, in this new world of information sharing and social media, it's very hard to keep secret. And so the more that we can embrace, authenticity and transparency in general, the better. And then, of course, you mentioned adaptability. It sounds like if you had to pick a third, it would be adaptability based on current circumstances, and just being able to be, you said earlier, being able to be very agile and flexible.
You used a term a few minutes ago, the silver lining, and again, I think that that's also very important when you're up. You can't change what's going on in the world. You can't change how much consumer demand is ultimately out there. All you can do is change how you look at things. And personally, especially as a new CEO of this company, this is good. I've used this opportunity just to get a lot of things done to accelerate my agenda. It's as I said, it's ushered in all kinds of really cool innovation very, very quickly. I've had a chance to get to know my team, just because you in some ways you're very quickly you're in the foxhole together. You know what I mean? So we've been able to bond very, very fast, and as I said, we've been able to innovate together. So I'm choosing to look at this as opportunities that may not have been there otherwise.
Yep, cool. Love that. I have another winner to announce. Sholem Potash. I hope I'm not mispronouncing your name. I apologize if I am. Sholem Potash from Brooklyn. Wow, we're from my neck of the woods down to yours and back up to mine. Sholem Potash from Brooklyn. Congratulations. We have a question from, do have a question for you here. Sam, let me know who that's from so I can give them a shout out and thank them for their question. The question is around a COVID response. Now that malls are opening back up, will all of the restaurants be opening up that are located in malls? I'm not sure if you have so many different brands. I'm not sure how, to the extent to which you can speak about that, but of course, many of your brand's anxious fans are excited to revisit your restaurants. That's from Kathy Clatterball. Kathy wants to know.
Yep. So Kathy, thanks for the question. And brands like Auntie Anne's and Cinnabons, they have a lot of mall locations around the country, and those brands in particular were probably the hardest hit by this, right? You can't open your restaurant if the mall is closed. So we're starting to see the first kind of the first kind of set of malls opening. There was a group of 50 Simon malls last Friday that started opening, and so yes, our franchisees, they will have the right to start opening within their food courts again. Obviously, there are a lot more restrictions in terms of of what you have to do in order to open, keeping people 6 feet apart, with tables and the lines and hand sanitizing stations and things like that. So I would say that's what a lot of the restaurants and malls are doing right now. They are preparing to open, and just not to do in terms of doing business how they used to do it, but they're also incorporating a lot of these new requirements that local governments are insisting on. So
Cool. Thank you very much. Last chance. We have just a couple more minutes. So last chance to enter to win a book, and also last chance to ask Jim or me a question. Before we wrap up, I have a question that I hope you don't get asked too often. I have word from a very close source that you are a very, very good, like concert level piano player. And
Gosh.
and so my question for you is this. Are there any insights? What have you learned about business from playing the piano, and vice versa? What have you learned about the piano from leading businesses?
Yeah. Well, that is a that's a great question, and I think there are just zillions of parallels between business and music, right? I think also music is just a great medium to communicate your messages in business too, because the language is universal. Everybody can appreciate it, right? But so I take a lot of inspiration, not just from the music, but sometimes from the lives of people who wrote that music. And probably one of my favorites is George Gershwin. And George Gershwin was the son of Russian immigrants in New York, right, in your hometown. And he thought he had just completely gotten the job of his lifetime when he started working as a piano plugger. And in the years before radio and TV, right, if you wanted to buy music, you went to a piano store and somebody played it. But somewhere along the line, he had the courage to move and to continue to evolve himself. And he went to Broadway. Completely conquered Broadway, and then he left Broadway and started writing these world class, symphonic pieces like Rhapsody in Blue, etc. So basically, as a business person, what I take away from his life is that you have to have the courage to keep shaking things up, and the courage to keep evolving, and do so with the fearlessness of a George Gershwin. So that's just one example of a composer's life and his music that I can look to for inspiration. And I think it's just a beautiful parallel with what we do in business every day.
I love that. And I'm guessing the answer is no, but you don't happen to have a piano like right there by chance, do you?
I do. Well, I mean, I've got one downstairs. Yeah.
Well, I was going to try to put you on the spot to play, but I don't know if you can
I will.
use the computer. That could be like very tricky, unfortunately.
Well, I'll tell you what, we'll do that. If you invite me back, we will play. I will play anything you want. So we'll play some Gershwin, we'll play whatever you want.
Nice. Okay, a couple more questions just popped in here. Gurab wants to know how startups in the hotel industry can survive, or should they just even try? Should they even try, or should they, or the close up shop? If you're a startup in the hotel business, and I don't know too much more, unfortunately, to give you more context. Any advice for startups in travel and hospitality?
Well, I mean, about 40% of the hotel business in this country, they're still independents. So if you've got a niche, you can probably make it. You're not going to have the big loyalty programs and the big marketing muscles of the big chains behind you. Right. So you've got to have something that's totally authentic and unique, right, to bring customers in. You're probably going to be an expert in social media, and you're going to rely a lot on third parties like Expedia or whatever to be able to make it. So what I would say is, yeah, it's still possible to make it as an independent. I would say it's a lot more challenging these days than it probably was 10, 20, 30 years ago, but it can be done.
Yeah. Okay. I love it. And final question, and then stay tuned for the grand prize, everyone. But final question comes from Teddy Burris. And he's suggesting, Jim, that a potential reward from this business adjustment could be that the new engagement and with your team and the ideas that might be able to flow from more open conversations could help us better handle and adjust for the next pandemic. Any thoughts on that? Agree, disagree, silver lining?
Well, I would say, I mean, I learned as a leader a long time ago that I don't have monopoly on creativity and smarts and the right answers. All I know is when I've got the right people around me, we stand a much better chance of getting to the right answer.
Love that. Surround yourself with the best people has long been one of my tenets. And I certainly hope that we are adding that tenet to our sketch, which I am now going to ask to take a quick look at again before we wrap up. Ariel from ImageThink. ImageThink.net is a graphic recording firm run by a terrific friend of mine, Nora Herting, and they just do a wonderful job. And if you want to learn more about how they can sketch your conference or your meetings, check out ImageThink.net. And here we are. It's being worked on as we speak, which is cool. So I say add that tenant, Jim, and there it is on the bottom of our screen. Surrounding yourself with great people. So We've got a great recap of our discussion here with Jim Holthouser, the CEO of Focus Brands. And I want to thank you so much for joining me today, Jim.
It's been a pleasure, Dave. Thank you.
Our grand prize winner is Daniel Hall. Congratulations, Daniel Hall from Maryland. We started in New York. We went down to your neck of the woods in the South, and we're finishing right in the middle, I guess, of the North where I'm from, and the South where Jim is. And congratulations, Daniel Hall. If I call out your name and you've won a prize, please send me a direct message. We'll get your address and we'll get a book out to you. Until next time, I want to thank you so much, Jim Holthouser of Focus Brands, for joining us. And if you are watching this show, I would like to ask you to visit one of the Focus Brands restaurants as they reopen, and support those restaurants. You know, we've seen just how important restaurants are to our economy, to our lives in the last several weeks, and I want to see them all around for as long as possible. So thank you in advance for visiting the Focus Brands restaurants. We'll add a bunch of those logos and names of all the Focus Brands to this sheet, so you all can see in the follow-up all of the restaurants that I want you to visit. But the ones I personally know and love are certainly Auntie Anne's and Moe's and Cinnabon's. Oh, just absolutely delicious. And I want to thank Ariel from ImageThink and for joining us today and sketching this. And most of all, I want to thank you guys, the viewers, for tuning in. We are at you every single Monday afternoon, live on LinkedIn and Facebook and YouTube. And until next time, have a super likable day. Bye-bye for now.
Bye.